For as long as we've been around, humanity has looked up at the sky, searching for answers. The sun, the moon, the stars, they weren't just pretty lights. Nope, they were our very first clock, our first calendar, and our first map. Today, we're going to dive into that ancient celestial dance and see how it still shapes our lives right now.
It all kicks off with a simple question, one you've probably had yourself. Let's imagine for a second. You're a young girl named Mira, and you're at this incredible kite festival in Ahmedabad. Kites are everywhere. But then you look up and you see something a little strange. The moon, just hanging out in the daytime sky. You know it changes shape every night, but seeing it right there next to the sun makes you wonder, wait a minute, if the moon is a giant ball, why don't we see the whole thing all the time?
And that right there, that's the cosmic code we're here to crack. It's not magic, it's not some kind of constant eclipse. It's actually the result of a beautiful, totally predictable dance between the sun, the earth, and the moon. What we're actually seeing are what scientists call the phases of the moon. It sounds technical, but it just means the different shapes of the sunlit part of the moon that we can see from our little spot here on Earth. So if you could zoom out into space, it would all make perfect sense. The sun is like a giant spotlight, and it's always shining on one half of the moon. The moon itself isn't changing shape at all. What is changing is our point of view of that sunlit half as the moon circles around the Earth. Right, so depending on where the moon is in its month-long trip around us, we get to see a different slice of that lit-up side. Sometimes we see the whole bright face, sometimes we just see a tiny sliver, and sometimes, well, we see nothing at all. It's all about perspective. And this whole thing follows a really predictable cycle. We start with the full moon, or Purnima, when we see that entire bright, beautiful face. Then, over the next couple of weeks, the light seems to shrink. That's the waning period. It keeps shrinking until it disappears completely at the new moon, or Amavasya. But don't worry, it comes back. For the next 2 weeks, it grows again. That's the waxing period, all the way back to a full moon. And guess what? This cycle became our very first month. Now, this reliable, predictable cycle was, and I mean this, a massive breakthrough for early humans. It became the foundation for the very first way we tracked long periods of time. This was humanity's first clock. I mean, for thousands of years, civilizations all over the world, including right here in ancient India, watched this pattern. They realized this rhythm in the sky could be counted. And just like that, they had a reliable way to track time, long before we had phone apps or even paper calendars. But, there was a bit of a puzzle. A year based on 12 moon cycles is about 354 days long. The problem? Our seasons, spring, summer, winter, they're all based on the Earth's 365-day trip around the sun. That 11-day gap, that's a really big deal. If you only follow the moon, your calendar starts to drift. Pretty soon, you'd be celebrating a spring harvest festival in the middle of winter. Not ideal. So what was the solution? Something truly ingenious. The Lunar Solar calendar. It's a hybrid. It's the best of both worlds. It follows the moon for the months, which everyone was used to, but, and here's the clever part, to keep it lined up with the seasons, every 2 or 3 years, they just added an extra month. This intercalary month was like a reset button, snapping the calendar back in sync with the sun. So simple, but so brilliant. Okay, so why does all this ancient timekeeping stuff matter to us today? Well, because it's deeply woven into the fabric of our culture, especially when you start looking at our festivals. Just look at this connection. So many major Indian festivals are timed perfectly to the moon. Diwali, the festival of lights, it arrives on the new moon. Holi and Buddha Purnima, they're celebrated under the bright light of a full moon. And Eid al-Fitr is announced only after that first sliver of the crescent moon is spotted. These huge celebrations are literally set by the stars. And this connection to the sky isn't some recent thing. It is an ancient tradition. Astronomical texts like the Surya Siddhanta, which goes back centuries, have these incredibly detailed observations, directly linking the sun's path through the constellations to the changing of the seasons. It's amazing. So, for millennia, the moon was our one and only satellite, but our basic need to look up to the skies for a little guidance, that never went away. In the last century, we just started a new chapter. We began launching our own helpers into the sky. And of course, I'm talking about artificial satellites. You know, those little fast-moving dots of light you can sometimes see gliding across the night sky. They're basically the modern version of that ancient impulse to look up for information. They orbit the Earth just like the moon does, but they're built for our new, modern era.
And India's space research organization, ISRO, has launched a whole fleet of them. You've got things like the Cartosat series, which gives us these super high-quality images for better maps and planning. And then you have AstroSat, which is basically a space observatory that looks outward to study distant stars, carrying on the work of our ancestors with unbelievably powerful eyes.
So what do we get from all these satellites? Oh, just about everything. The GPS that guides you through traffic, the weather forecasts that warn us about cyclones, the global communications that connect our entire world. They're the invisible backbone of modern life, our new moons working for us 24/7. This whole incredible journey for India into space was really pioneered by the vision of one man, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. He's known as the father of the Indian space program, and he understood that for a nation to develop and be self-reliant, launching our own satellites was absolutely crucial. So we've gone from a single moon that governed our ancient calendars to thousands of artificial ones that run our modern world. Our bond with the sky has never, ever been stronger. Which just leaves one last little thought to chew on. What would happen if Earth had 2 moons instead of 1? How different would our nights be? Our calendars? Even our stories? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring with us.